Hello, and thank you for coming to the McWaters Effect. I'm your host, Matt. Today we're going to be talking about HR8, gun control bill that was just passed in the House. Okay, let me give you some information about this bill. It was actually passed in 2019-2020 with no bipartisan support. It was only supported by the Democrats. But now they passed it in 2021 with bipartisan support. There's some Republicans that actually voted for this bill. And the person who wrote the bill is named Mike Thompson. He's a representative from California. Let's take a look at what he has to say.
Let me talk about the bills that are on the floor today to expand those background checks before gun purchases. Democrats have been saying the bills close what they call dangerous loopholes. As you know, the issue for years now has been the lack of, frankly, bipartisan support, particularly what we saw in the Trump administration with a Republican-controlled Senate. What are the chances that these bills, if they pass the House, could end up getting through the Senate? And how much bipartisan support do you think you have right now?
Well, my bill, HR8, would expand background checks to all gun sales and most transfers. So if someone is going to buy a gun, they have to get a background check to make sure that they're not a criminal or they're not dangerously mentally ill. We know this works. Just in where background checks apply today, and that by federal law, that is all licensed firearm dealers. There are 160 felons every day that are stopped from buying a gun because of the background check. There are 50 domestic abusers that are stopped every day from buying a gun because of the background check. The problem is they can be denied the purchase in the gun store. They can walk out the door and go to a computer store, go online and find an individual seller who is selling the same firearm and still obtain it. That's what we're trying to address. My legislation has had bipartisan support from day number one. I have bipartisan co-authors. It'll be brought up for a vote tomorrow on the floor, and there'll be Republicans who vote for it. The problem, as you point out, gets real hairy once you get over into the Senate, where the support isn't quite as broad. There are Republicans who support it, but they have the 60-vote requirement to bust a filibuster over there, and it becomes a little bit more difficult. But Hallie, 90% of the American people believe in passing the background check bill. Can you imagine the Senate debating a filibuster to stop this from coming to a vote when 90% of their constituents support it? We really need to make sure that the American people know who's up.
I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was an eye-opening interview. It told me a lot about the bill. Oh, wait a minute. It didn't tell me shit. But what's really new coming from the mainstream media about asking questions and hard-hitting questions at that about certain bills to see if it actually is going to affect people overall? No, of course they don't ask any hard questions. It's because they like this bill. They like the idea of making it harder to get a gun or keeping a gun or doing anything else with a gun. Well, here's a little part of this story. HR8. Nancy Pelosi pushes an anti-Second Amendment bill that could easily put you in jail. Well, that's a damn understatement. Well, I decided to look a little deeper into this bill. This bill requires that if you make a loan or gifts or sell a firearm, you must go to the gun shop to process the sale or the loan or the gift. If you do not, the penalty is the same as someone would get if they sold a gun to someone that was convicted of a felony. Okay, so let's look at the first part of that. So a loan. Let's say one of your buddies wants to borrow a gun from you so he can go and shoot a deer. You loan him the gun, but first thing you gotta do is grab that gun, go to the gun shop, fill out an application in order to give the loan to him, and then he has to get background checked. And then whenever he's done with the gun, he has to grab you and the gun, take you back to the damn gun store, and do it all over again. Except it's for you. You have to get a background check. And then when it comes to getting a gift, the person that you're getting that gun for has to actually go for a background check before they can get the gun. And of course, you got to go through a background check every time you buy a gun anyway. And if you fail to do any of these things by the letter of law, you could get penalized or go to jail. Now here's the second part of this damn bill I thought was dumber than hell. You're not allowed to own a handgun if you're between the ages of 18 and 20. So let me get this straight. I could be drafted, go to a country I can't even pronounce, and die there at the age of 18, but I can't own a gun. I can't even drink a beer. Can't even get a damn cigarette. Buy cigarettes. What the hell's going on with this shit? Okay, the reason they actually put this as part of the bill is because they were worried about the suicide rates with guns in the United States. Out of gun deaths in the United States, suicide is the highest percentage of gun deaths. And another reason they passed it is because they're trying to stop all the gun deaths that are happening in these inner cities, such as Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, trying to stop that from happening anymore. Most of these guns they're getting aren't even legal anyway. They're getting them off the black market. Now look, people are going to find ways to get things that are illegal. Perfect example is drugs, especially marijuana. I mean, you got that illegal right now, especially federally. People still do it. You know, they tried doing that with alcohol back in the 1920s. Prohibition didn't work out for that. And they've been doing prohibition on drugs and the drug war since the 1970s. And it hasn't worked out. It's actually made things worse in the United States. Incarceration in the United States is higher than hell because of that. People going in because they had a fifth of weed on them? Who cares? Let them go home and smoke it. It's their business, not mine. You know, and then you're going to try to do a prohibition from 18 to 20-year-olds to own a handgun. It's not going to work out. They're going to find ways to get it. I mean, you can actually make a gun from a 3D printer now. What are you going to do? Make people to have a freaking license to own a 3D printer? And there's two more caveats to this bill. One of them is that when you go and do these kind of transfers, like you want to let your buddy borrow that gun, you have to pay a fee to do it. And there will be a regulatory that may set a minimum payment. May. There's no maximum payment though. That's the problem. It's going to hurt poor people. Not allow them to go and actually go shoot a buck or go shoot a deer so they can feed their family. This directly affects poor people more than any other group. You know, because not everybody has the money to go and buy a $200 to $500 gun so they can kill a deer so they can feed their family. They have other stuff they got to pay for, like bills, car, a house. They have very little money, so they have to borrow guns from someone else so they can go and do that. The lack of understanding that's going on in Washington is beyond me, or even common sense, in both parties. Here's another part of this story. Cawthorn blasts HR8 gun law, warning that it's a bastardization of the Constitution, and there's silence in the House. Who's surprised? The House is run by Democrats. Of course there's silence. I'll be honest with you guys. The main reason I'm making this video is because I need you guys to go out there to any liberal Republican that might actually vote for this bill, like Mitt Romney or Susan Collins, and tell them not to. Or one of these conservative Democrats like Joe Manchin that might vote for this bill. You need to go and tell him not to in order to stop this bill from being passed. Now, I'm pretty sure it won't pass because it needs a 60-vote majority to win, and there's only 50 Democrats. Even if they got Joe Manchin to vote for it, I just don't see that many. I don't see 10 Republicans moving over to vote for this, especially since the bill is unconstitutional. Now, I'm not a constitutional scholar, but I'm pretty sure it is unconstitutional. Most of the bills that are against guns are unconstitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you have to go through a background check to get a gun. It's part of the Bill of Rights. And I forgot the last juicy part of this bill. 10-day waiting period to get the gun. You're telling me if I want to allow my friend to borrow that gun, we have to go there, drive all the way to the shop, fill out the paperwork for the background check, wait 10 days before he could use the gun. Then he takes the gun out, shoots the buck, shoots the deer, whatever it might be, comes back to me, we go to the gun shop again, fill out the paperwork, do the background check, and I get my gun 10 days later. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of people that ain't going to do this shit. I don't see it happening. It's the dumbest damn law I've ever seen. They just try to make people not actually see a gun and be like, it's not even worth having. That's what they're trying to do. Make it where people feel like, what's the point? All right, guys, I'm done with my rant for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I don't want to tell you. But don't forget, comment at the bottom. Please subscribe. and hit the like button, and I'll see you next time. Peace.